What is good, YouTube? It is your boy Shivs. Welcome back to another video. Haven't uploaded in a while. I do apologise. I've been a little bit under the weather, but things have been going pretty well. We're up at 2,910 rating for the season. We're ranked 387 worldwide at the moment, so pretty happy with that. I will upload some gameplay shortly, especially as I push more and more of these 12s and 13s. They're super fun. Can't wait to share those with you. I want to make this video today a little bit of a quick video just to talk about some of the changes coming in the next patch in World of Warcraft, which is 11.05. I'm going to give you everything you need to know. It's going to be short and snappy, so it's going to be the too long, didn't read video about all the changes. So we'll start with the patch notes. And I'm just going to read you things that are relevant and skip over anything that just really isn't worth worrying about too much. Basically, Echoing Reprimand is now gone and it's replaced by Supercharger. It acts in a very similar way. And we'll talk about the talent builds later on, but nothing really to note here. Just send it as you normally would. Treat it like an Echoing Reprimanded charged combo point. It works with Darkest Night, which is great for the Deathstalker build. So if you land on 5 combo points with Deathstalker build and you have Supercharger, then of course just send it as normal. Okay, Fisselty. This change is pretty trivial. I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you're talking about min-maxing, then Sims will try and avoid using this auto trigger. But I've also heard that you can just macro Thistletea to Shiv and you'd have a very minimal damage loss of about 0.2%. So I wouldn't really worry too much about it. I wouldn't really focus on it. Just play your game as normal. Cut to the chase, now grants Slice and Dice, which is awesome. It's going to change the opener slightly. It's going to mean that you don't need to manually press Slice and Dice in the opener, so it'll save a global, which is, again, just a nice quality of life change, and, again, nothing that you need to worry about too much. Little nerf to Soothing Darkness. Cheap Shot has been buffed, which is great if you're playing Outlaw. Faint no longer triggers a global cooldown. I mean, that's a great change, right? So you're no longer being penalized with the global and the energy cost of Faint when you're using a defensive in keys, which is just really nice. Smooths things out a little bit. Subterfuge now grants all of these abilities at the end of the subterfuge window. So what that means, if you're playing like Improved Garrote, that means you're now going to have 12 seconds of Improved Garrote if you're playing Subterfuge. I had some comments to say, hey, Shivs, are we going to be playing that? I've heard that that's really good. The answer is no. It's a massive damage loss to take Subterfuge, probably around 7 or 8% damage loss. The only reason you'd ever take this is just purely for utility, and it just isn't recommended in really any content that I can think of. So no, we're not going to take Subterfuge. This is great for PvP though. Cool. Now let's look. No changes to hero talents really. Like, we're still playing all the exact same stuff. Fatebound is viable in single target in raid as of right now. It's only it's actually simming slightly higher, but we've got to take everything with a pinch of salt because sims aren't like fully live with twist the knife changes right now. So yeah. I would stick as you are. Fatebound genuinely just isn't as good because it's more RNG, but it is viable in single target raids. So if you really struggle with Deathstalker and you just want to maybe simplify things, then you could play the Fatebound builds. All right, so let's talk about specific changes to Assassination. Master Assassin's been buffed. Okay, so they've reduced the bonus, but it's extended the duration, and this is now viable in some of the builds. So yeah, that's awesome. In fact, it's taken in raid. Ironwire silences have been reduced. Blah 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 blah. Twist the knife can now overlap up to 2 times on Envenom, which is great. And this is something we're definitely going to be playing around. And yeah, that's everything. All right, so let's talk about some of the different builds. Okay, so the too long didn't read is my recommendation is going to be that you play the hybrid build, okay, with 2 points in lethality, which is exactly what Whisper has gone and put on the updated Wowhead guide. So these are already updated. These are live, right? The patch is out tomorrow, or maybe today if you're watching this on Wednesday in the UK or Europe. And yeah, these builds, this is the one you want to play, in my opinion. This is the best overall build for M+. Let me just make sure we're looking at the right build here. No, this is not the M plus build. This is the M plus build. The main difference is Twist the Knife, right? So Twist the Knife, if I go back to these sims, this is the build we're talking about. It's the hybrid 2 lethality build, and this is a sim that, Whisper's done all the work here. So shout out to him. He's the one that's gone and theory crafted, well, worked with a lot of the theory crafters out there to produce the sims and investigate things. So big shout out to him, right? I do not claim all of this to be my own doing and work. But essentially what you need to know here is the Twist the Knife build sims higher in M+, right? But it's really hard to get the talent point. You'd probably have to drop something like Iron Wire to pick up Twist the Knife, right? And you're just not going to do that. Okay, Iron Wire is just way too much value in M+. And that's why the recommended build is this. So we have no Twist the Knife. Generally speaking, I'm just trying to think if there's any changes here from the build we played, well, I played previously, which is that hybrid build. And I guess the answer is really no on this side. But over here, we've dropped, obviously, there's no Echoing Reprimand. We only have 1 talent point in Supercharger. And as a result, we put 2 points in Lethality, which is a really nice talent to take. Critical strike chance increased by 2%, and the damage bonus increased by 20% of combo point generating abilities. So this sim's higher. This is the second highest possible simulation build for a dungeon slice, which is based on a plus 14 mists dungeon route. So it's a route sim. This is what I recommend taking. You can see other builds slightly further behind. So you've got the cleave build, which is also available on Wowhead, which is just quite far behind, I'd say. With these numbers, just bear in mind that this includes out of combat time, so that's why the numbers look really, really low. Don't worry about it too much. All you need to know is all we're looking at is how comparative to the other builds. So my advice is take the lethality build off of the 2 points in lethality build of Wowhead, and you should be all good. And I'll talk about some of the rotational changes and little caveats in a moment. This is our single target build sims, and we can see again Twist the Knife. So 2 points in lethality, Twist the Knife. We are going to be playing Twist the Knife in single target, and again that build is available here on Wowhead. I suppose the most important changes from last season, if you've already been raiding on Assassination Rogue, or not last season, but last patch, would be we're dropping Vicious Venoms, right? Could talk about that a little bit. So essentially, Assassination is now becoming a faster spec. Your actions per minute previously was around 45 actions per minute, right? Pressing 45 buttons per minute. Now we're going up to about 54, 55. So the spec's going to get a little bit faster. The reason being is now we're going to be spending more energy on Envenom. All right. This is essentially, in my opinion, going to make it easier to play. We used to talk about energy pooling, things like that. You still will pull energy at times, but basically you fire and forget, like Envenom. And the reason we're dropping Vicious Venoms is purely because it just it costs more energy on Ambush and Mutilate, and then that takes away from Envenom, right? Whereas now we have Twist the Knife. Envenom can now overlap 2 times. It's an extended duration. With those sims that we looked at earlier, we're talking about an Envenom uptime of somewhere around like 95%, with 2 stacks of Envenom uptime being around 55%. So really, it's all about the Envenom. It's just about spending the energy on Envenom, and just going ham on Envenom. So we ditch Vicious Venoms because it takes away energy from Envenom. We're not playing Sanguine Blades here in this recommended build. And we're playing Master Assassin. So now with this, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Like if you're following the standard opener, I'd recommend, I'm not going to go into full detail in this video because the reality is I'm just going to give you the summary of the changes. There may be some things in practice that sort of tips and tricks we might recommend after a short period of actually running these builds in content. But the reality is, if you're vanishing and you're sending improved Garrote into the last 5 seconds of your death mark in your opener, then this naturally is going to line up perfectly with that last second of Kingsbane anyway, and everything else in that opener. So just nothing really to note there. Just don't really overthink that. It's a great talent, but you don't need to worry about anything. Just like rotational changes. Okay, so I'm going to cover off M plus and raid in one fell swoop. So because we're not playing Vicious Venoms, it means in raid and single target, you will consume the Clear the Witnesses buff, which means you're using Fan and Knives in single target after reapplying Deathstalker's Mark. Okay, so when you have the Darkest Night buff up, you send the big combo point, 7 combo point in Venom into the target to reapply Deathstalker's Mark. Okay, or it could be 5 combo point supercharge. Yep. And that then gives you the Clear the Witness buff, and then you press Fan and Knives. Okay, it's a very tiny, small change, but it's what we already do in M plus. So if you're playing M plus, you'll probably like this because it creates some consistency with the rotation. Yeah, and it's very easy. It's not a massive damage gain either. So don't cry about it if you forget. All right, that's everything. I think that's all the key changes there. I don't need to ramble on too much. So basically, the spec's getting faster. There's some minor changes to the rotation. All the updated builds are on Wowhead. My recommendation is the hybrid build because it is the best all-round build. I never actually explained that. Some builds are slightly higher in AoE. Like if you take the cleave build or the bleed build, like we're slightly higher in AoE, but we lose so much single target damage for bosses that I just wouldn't recommend it for high keys. Okay, this build has great single target damage, has great AoE, and it has great priority damage with Kingsbane every minute, which is really, really good for those higher keys. Nothing changes in terms of stats. Okay, we're still crit mastery in AoE. You should still always sim your character, of course, but nothing else to note here, guys. So yeah, have fun with the new build. I'm looking forward to testing it out myself. Yeah, and thanks for watching the video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments down below. As always, like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.